Okay, hello again. This is my lecture on Lexis Advance. I'm going to teach you some of the maybe things you haven't learned in the introductory course. Let's get started. I would like you to follow along with this lecture with your computer and do what I do. And I would like you to save what I save as far as favorites and so forth. Okay, so there's first thing I want to talk about is speeding up access to your frequently used websites, frequently used searches. I mean, your frequently used legal sources. And in order to do that, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The normal way is to save it here to the favorites. And the other way you can do it is you can save actual web pages to your web browser. And you can see over here in my personal web browser here, I have saved Massachusetts cases because that is what I use all the time. How is that helpful? When I want to start a search in Lexis, I usually know I'm just going to use Massachusetts cases. I don't need anything else. I click on Massachusetts cases here, and it takes me right to Lexis login. I log in, and then it takes me right to Massachusetts cases. I don't have to go looking for it in the favorites drop-down menu. I'm right there. Um, so let's show you an example of that. I'm going to go to Massachusetts. I'm going to go to Massachusetts state cases combined, and then I'm going to go to this link. I want you to do this with me. Click this link. You can now copy this link. It says here, you copy it, and you now have a link that you can copy into your browser, into your favorites. I have a Google browser. You could copy it in there. You could also just, even easier, just hit the star button on your Google browser if you have one of those. For step-by-step instructions on how to see or clear your history. Excuse me, I'm sorry, my phone. So yeah, so you could just do that. Hit the star here, and it will save it to your browser favorites. I would suggest that you save this to your browser, and that would be right here, Massachusetts cases, and then save this here, Massachusetts state cases combined, because you'll be using that in my class. And then you could do what I do, which is log in from right there. You can always go back to the home page if you need something else. Don't click on this here. You don't need, well, we're probably not going to need federal cases. Okay, so that's the one way, that's the one way to do it. And then the standard way to do it is just to save them here in your favorites. How do you save something to your favorites? Well, as I said, starting at the home page, when you log in, you want to do a search. Say in this course, you know that you're going to be doing a search for stuff in Massachusetts. So what you would do is you go down to Massachusetts, and again, you could save Massachusetts state cases combined. And then here, you would just click the star that appears up here. There will be a star somewhere up here for you folks. I have already saved this page, so there is no star. But there should be a star in the menu around here in the Lexis menu for you to save it to the favorites in Lexis. Okay? Let me show you. So that's that. Now, I would like to ask you to save the following to your web browser. I'm sorry, the following to your favorites. The first one we're going to save is the annotated laws of Massachusetts. Those are statutes that we may be using in my class. So we go down to statutes and legislation here. We click Mass Annotated Laws. And then we click this star right here next to it. Okay. And that star will save it to the favorites. Okay. The next one is suppression matters under mass law. Let's look at that. That is a secondary material that lawyers use. It's like a how-to for motions to suppress. They use it on both sides. The judges even use it, and it's right here under top secondary sources. Suppression matters under mass law. Okay, you want to save that. Again, you want to go up and click on the star here. Click it here. When you go back to Lexis Advance, it'll be here in your favorites. Okay. What happens when it's in your favorites? What does that mean? That means if I click on a MA, for example, or excuse me, I want to go back here. If I have something saved in my favorites and I click under suppression matters for under mass law, for example, and I type in a search right here, it's only going to search Massachusetts suppression matters under mass law. It won't give me cases or anything else. So that's narrowing your search to a specific source. That's what the favorites are for, okay? And I should have said that at the beginning of the lecture. You should probably know that, but okay. Carrying on with our list of things I want you to save. I'm not going to actually tell you these. I'm going to give you the name. I'm going to ask you to now save the Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure. You're going to be using those. I want you to save the Massachusetts Guide to Evidence. You're going to be needing that. And I want you to save the Criminal Model Jury Instructions for use in the district court, as well as the Criminal Model Jury Instructions for use in the Superior Court. I am going to post up a script of this lecture that will have what I'm saying, so you can go over that script and it'll have these sources and how you can find them. Okay. So that's saving things in your browser, saving things for quick access. Okay. Now I want to talk about creating research files. What's a research file? A research file is an online folder that you keep online in the Lexis platform that contains all of your research for a particular project. In my practice, I work at the DA's office. I keep a folder for every criminal appeal that I am assigned to handle. So if I am assigned to handle a criminal appeal for Joe Jones, I make a file called Jones Joe, and I keep it on Lexis, and I save all of my cases that I find that are good for my argument to that. I save searches to that file, so that when I go back to that project, I can just open up the research file online, and it's right there. Okay? How do we create a file, a folder, whatever you want to call it? You're at the home page, you go to More, you go to Folders, you go to Create New Folder, and let's create Jones Joe. Jones. Well, actually, let's create an actual client. I headed that to doing my notes. Let's click Sergeant Mark. Let's create Sergeant Mark. SARGENTMARK. For some reason, these folders don't like apostrophes or special symbols, so you have to make it like that. Okay, so create Sergeant Mark. I've been working on his appeal. I've actually finished his appeal, but it's something that we can work on as a group, as a class. Okay. All right. So you've now created a file, which will appear down here. Once you hit create, it'll appear down here, and it will be right. Let me see, Sergeant. Here's my Mark Sergeant file for you folks to look at. I created a while ago. I happen to have some items in here. I have some selected text. I have a Commonwealth versus Miola and some cases here. And now I can just pick up where I left off on that. Okay? That's saving folders, saving research folders. All right. Now, what can we save to a folder? We can save anything that we find on Lexis can be saved to a research folder. Okay? So, for example, let's put in, here's Commonwealth versus Miola. I found that. Let's just put in any name. Let's put in here, this says 93 Mass Ave, Port 303. I don't know what that is. That's a site. Maybe that's Miola. That's Miola. Okay. So I hit Miola. I want to save it. Actually, that's a bad example. Let me try something else because that's already been saved. I'm sorry. All right, let's save 94. Let's save GL chapter 265, section 13B. All right, so in your research, you may come across, for example, a statute here. Um, and you may wish to save this statute. This is an assault and battery statute. So you just click on the folder icon here to the left and you save it. In this case, Mark Sargent comes to the top because I've been recently working on Mark Sargent with you folks. So Lexis knows that and they put it here. So I'm going to save this to Mark Sargent. And you can see now I have that statute. Okay. So this applies to anything that you do on Lexis. You could even select text you can select text and you could save it to Lexis. Let's do that. Let's say we find a good paragraph that we like for our research. This paragraph helps my case. I highlight it like I do with anything else, and you can annotate it, by the way, and you hit add to folder. Add to folder, and it has now been saved to Mark Sargent. You click on save to Mark Sargent. Okay. All right. And we can go down to Sargent here, and we can see, if we go back to Sargent, won't save, I'm sorry. So we go back to our home group. If we go back to home and we go to more, that's where we find the folders. And then we go to folders. And then we can scroll down to Sargent and see what we just saved. There it is, selected text from Commonwealth versus Miola. Open it up. And there you have it. You can copy and paste this now right into a document, a legal document, if you wanted to quote this whole passage. And I'm going to talk to you more about how to do that in a more efficient way. Okay? You can save an entire search. You can see that I've saved an entire search. Let's search for breaking and entering. All right. 1,900 results for breaking and entering. It's a big results. Okay, so again, there's a folder right here. You see it? Just click on folder, save to Mark Sargent, and we have now saved this search to Mark Sargent. The search saving is a very good tool because you're going to be coming back to searches. You don't want to have to, you're going to be using keywords to do searches, and you don't want to have to figure out the keywords all over again. If you do a good search and you come up with some good cases from some keywords that you entered in, you can't remember those, so you don't want to have to remember those keywords. You just save that search because that was a fruitful search. Okay. All right. So that's folders. We just learned how to do folders. I want you to set up a folder from Mark Sargent just like I did. You don't have to have anything in it yet, but I just want you to know because we are probably going to be doing work on the Sargent case. Okay. Highlighting and annotating cases. This is useful for you in your research for obvious reasons. Just like you might in your research find favorable cases and favorable language in the cases, you might highlight it with a marker if you had paper. With Lexis, you can just highlight it with your highlighter and save it. So, excuse me, let me go to Commonwealth versus Viola again, back to that case. And you can see here, I can scroll down. The official opinion here starts right here after the head notes. It starts right here where it says opinion. And I've already highlighted this text. Let's say if I wanted to say highlight this, okay? I can highlight it here, down here, with the pretty little colors down here. Here you go. I've just highlighted it, okay? So every time I pull up Viola now, all this stuff will be highlighted. This is an important part of the case for me, right? What else can you do with this? Well, you can add annotations. That's just notes. You can take notes on it, blah, blah, blah. You can do that. That's a good feature. There's no need for you to be printing up anything with Lexis. You can keep everything online and do it virtually just as you would on your desk. And I find it more efficient if everything is in one place. Okay. What else can you do? I will show you. There's other things that we can do with this. Let me see here. Okay. Excuse me. So we can highlight, we can annotate, and we can add it to the folder. We got that. We can copy it and paste it. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Well, actually, I'm going to get into that right now. So another thing that you'll find useful for this program is copying and pasting into documents. Let's say that you have a case that you're working on, and you find a good passage. You want to copy it into the brief that you're working on or the memorandum of law you're working on. For example, right here, this looks like a great passage to you. And you want to, so you can just cut and paste it right into your memorandum of law or brief or whatever legal document you're working on. And the beauty of this program is key. The huge time-saving feature of this program is that it will automatically insert the correct legal citation into the pasted words that you put in your document. I'll show you how that works. So I want you to follow along with me. We're going to we're going to highlight this passage. Excuse me. I'm trying to do this here. All right. For our purposes, we're going to use copy quick. There is copy advanced, but we only need quick copy right here. Click on this. You've now saved this to your clipboard. Now, what I do, and I want you to do, is I have a text document I use for each case. So what you can do here is I would suggest you would create a new text document that's just like raw text. And what I do is I keep this as notes for every case, and I just keep cutting and pasting into this text document. And I'm going to do that right now. Okay, and you see here's the whole quote, right? And then it cites right here, Commonwealth versus Neola, and it inserts the correct citation with the page that it appears on and the pinpoint citation. You should know what a pinpoint citation is by now. That is a citation to the exact the exact page or pages where the quote comes from. And here it's on 306 to 307. Okay. And I use this text document. Why do I use this text document on my desktop rather than using a Word document or some other document? It looks goofy here, right? Well, the reason I do this is because the text document here will strip the formatting of the material that you got from the case law. In other words, however this Lexis published it, it may have been Times New Roman, 12-point fonts, and so on and so forth. But the document that you may have a document that has to be Courier New, 12-point font or 14-point font, and it's all different. So this is a means of so what I'm trying to say is when you copy this from here, you can copy this, you can insert this into any legal document you have, and because it has no formatting at all, it will format itself to your legal document. It will become Times New Roman if you're using Times New Roman. It will become 12-point font if you are using 12-point font. Okay? All right. So I'm not going to save this. What I next want you to do is I do want you to create a file on your desktop. These are my kids. You can do new and then file and create a folder for Mr. Sergeant. Say Sergeant Marks. Sergeant, comma, Mark. Okay? I want you to do exactly what I did, which is I want you to open Mark, and I want you to create a new text document. You should have it if you have Microsoft Word, you should have a Microsoft Text right here, text document, right? And then we'll call this Notes, Sergeant Notes. So as I said, whenever I find good material on cases or good legal material, I will go on the Sergeant project. I'll go open up his file on I'll copy it. Excuse me. I'll copy it from Lexis right up here. I'll copy it here, and then I'll minimize, and I'll go back to Sergeant's file. I'll open up his notes, and I'll paste it in there, and I'll keep doing that as I'm researching. I'll keep cutting and pasting, and this thing will fill up with all these quotes. I may not use these quotes verbatim, but they have all of the legal argument that I need, and they have all the citations that I need. Okay, so that's a lesson there in files. Okay, I'm going to stop here and pause and make sure that I covered everything I wanted to cover. Okay, well, I just want to say that that concludes my lecture here. I am going to post with this video a script that I was supposed to follow that I didn't follow, but the script has what you will need to recreate what I just did, and it has the list of things that you need to save to your favorites to continue the class here. And we may have some discussions or some probing on those. I'm trying to figure out a way to test you on those on what we just did. It's not particularly complicated, I believe, but it's something that I think is very useful. Okay, thank you.